Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Jenny. That's a cool name.
It's very good, yeah.
Jenny from Flowers by Moira. Now, I know who Moira is, but will you please tell everybody else who Moira is? Have to talk about Moira.
We do, absolutely. So Moira is my mum.
Your
So
mummy.
I do often get called Moira.
Do you?
But I will answer, absolutely. Moira's my mum. So mum started the business, or Momo as we like to call her. So she started the business when I was 3. So, and this year is our 40th year.
40th year.
Yeah.
And so she started the business when you were 3. So was she training up until then?
So no, she had kind of administration jobs and different things before that and turned a hobby into
a career.
Yeah. So her first wedding was her sister-in-law, so my dad's sister. My granny mother-in-law asked her to do the wedding flowers, and she was like, okay, but I need to learn how to do it. So she went and did a course and then was doing little bits and bobs. And
Jenny, that's how I started. Martin's sister asked me to do her photos for her wedding, and I was like, no way. And that's actually how I started. I did her flowers, and that was it.
I think a lot of flowers fall into, they're not necessarily like fall into it. And I suppose I grew up into it.
You did.
But I went and did a marketing degree after school in college, and then I went traveling and ended up working in a flower shop, and then kind of felt, this is like, actually, no, I'm coming home to this.
To work with mum.
Yeah.
And now you have her business.
She's taking a little bit more of a step up. She's still very much active in it, and she's overseeing us.
She is such a lovely woman.
Mm.
Jenny and I were down in Tankerstown House, weren't we? There, we were very bold. We went to the expansion of Bravazan Restaurant, and you and your lovely mum were there. And that's actually, I met her before, but that's the first time now I've had a dance with her. She is like, Martin was all about her.
She said she's available for a dance partner anytime soon with Martin again. But that was a lovely evening. It was so lovely to be on the other side.
Yes.
Because oftentimes we're gone from a wedding, we just don't see what happens afterwards.
Yes.
But just to sit back and be spoiled rotten
was
absolutely beautiful.
Wasn't it lovely? But she is such a lovely woman. But let's talk about you. So, I suppose I met you a good while ago, but I had seen your flowers for a long time before I had met you. And I have to say, and not that I'm trying to, throw compliments and be a fangirl, but your work is absolutely outstanding. And I come across a huge amount of florists and work in my job, and I have to photograph flowers all the time. Your work is unbelievable. And then I got to meet you after I had seen your flowers. And honestly, Jenny, they are just stunning. And I think anybody who has you doing their flowers for their wedding are very, very, very lucky people.
Oh, that's lovely to hear.
They are very, very lucky people.
Oh, well, look, I think I love what I do.
Yeah, clearly.
Sometimes you kind of go and you don't like the late nights and all the administration and different things. But at the end of the day, when you bring a bride her bouquet and she's delighted and it's what she wants, and then you get to put the whole day together after all the time of planning. Yeah. It's a pleasure to be part of someone's day, because it's such a big focal point of their, their
everything.
And it's like, their two families coming together, and they've spent so long planning it.
Yes.
And you're kind of going, you have a lot of responsibility on your shoulders. Sometimes there's late nights, early mornings, rereading files, double checking we have everything right. And it is I love it. Yeah. And then and I think, sometimes when it's shops closed and you're kind of getting just to kind of going, maybe podcast on the background, you're just working away. Yeah. Just kind of going, time just flies by. And the team always said that the days fly by, because we're just kind of,
you're just focused on getting it right.
And it is kind of going, it's not just say the flowers, but it's kind of, you're getting to know people. It's, you understand the elements of the day that they have. And it is that bringing their vision to life. Yeah.
So Jenny, when somebody's starting off, and they're like, okay, we want you to do our flowers. Yeah. How do you start off that kind of relationship with them? How do you, I suppose, what do you do to make sure that their vision comes to life on the wedding day? There is a long process, isn't there?
Yeah, I suppose kind of once they've the booking made in their venue, and that's really where we come in. So once they've the date set and a venue set, even if it's just the date in their mind, kind of going, that's what we need to just check our availability in the diary. So I am conscious that we have retail as well. So
yes, we really have a shop.
Yeah. So
where's your shop? Tell everyone.
Main Street of Dunshaughlin. The past 40 years we've been there. Yeah. So we're in Dunshaughlin. So, and again, we kind of cover. We really probably try and keep within an hour of the area. We do the odd time travel further. I was in Clarny for a corporate event, different things this year, but we try and keep it within the hour, just because we're on the road, just for longer.
Yeah, of course.
But look, we're lucky. We have fabulous venues within the area. So once we have the date available and there's nothing else kind of going clashing in the diary, we will kind of then look kind of, that's once the date's available, we generally, people would send in, I suppose, kind of going, we do get DMs or Facebook messages and we try and filter everybody through the contact form on our website.
Yes.
So, and we just kind of go on, there's basic information there. So once we get the basic information, we check the dates available. We'll send you, we have, and it is actually available on the website, our price guide, and we have a lookbook that I need to do some updates with some licensing photography. But
I'll help you. I'll help you.
But just that gives people an idea of the work that we've done. And I suppose I always say to people, when you're searching for flowers, look at the venue, maybe see their suppliers list, who are they recommending, and go look at their Instagram posts or different things. See real life weddings in the venues.
Yes.
And so once the contact form there, we send them out, we set up a consultation. So they have an idea of some of the information, maybe kind of going to like a look, kind of to have a look and see where their budget might be when they say, well, actually bridal bouquets and I've 6 bridesmaids or 2 bridesmaids.
Yes.
It gives them an idea. And I'll always say it's a price guide. It really depends.
On what flowers you pick.
It's flower season, seasonality. If we kind of get near a peak or a peak internationally, flower prices will go up. So Christmas time, there's a higher demand.
Yeah.
Easter, International Women's Day.
Valentine's Day.
Mother's Day. And again, we look at International Mother's Day when it hits France or it hits America. That will also affect our prices.
Never thought of that.
So in terms of kind of going, that's there. So once we kind of we set up an initial call, is usually what we do, or kind of like, I suppose, we can send some information by email, but I always think it's nicer to talk.
Yeah.
So we generally do an initial call, and that gives us, this was kind of fact finding, where, what are the elements of the day that you want to have. Now, at this stage, we are getting 20-25 inquiries, but we're not opening the diary until about January. We might open a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But for next year, it's to get a gauge on, you might have your dress, but you're kind of going, well, I kind of think I'd like a more relaxed look, or I have ideas. I've been pinning things on Pinterest.
Yes.
I say, send them all over. And when we're talking, I'll be able to kind of decipher what your kind of look, if you're kind of going a little bit more relaxed. Again, get an idea, what have you, like, because again, every couple and every wedding, they're different.
Yeah.
And we don't generally offer packages, because we've kind of packages kind of tend to, for us anyway, pigeonholed, kind of going, it's certain items, whereas we've it's more a bespoke service that we offer. So we really tailor it to what you need.
Yeah.
And again, it could be a smaller number of elements, or you could be going.
So what are the must-haves then, Jenny? Give me the must-haves.
The must-haves for me, I suppose, are an amazing bridal bouquet.
Yeah. And when you, just to go back very quickly to, if somebody says to you, I want it to be more relaxed, what in the name of holy God does that mean? How do you have a relaxed bouquet?
A relaxed bouquet, I would say more informal, and maybe the words that we use to describe your wedding would be, and it could do also to be, I say, venue dependent. So if you're in Tenkerton, let's say kind of going, it's more of an elegant room, but you can still have a more informal look. So a little bit of foliage maybe brought in, softer lines, soft edges, as opposed to not that kind of more tight, compact structure.
Yeah.
But you could be in another venue, something like the Mill House. Again, it's a little bit more rustic. The elements kind of going, it feels a little bit more relaxed, or maybe it depends on this personality of the couple. You could be more kind of refined and kind of want to say kind of going very classic. I just kind of going, we want everything to be kind of perfect.
Yes.
And then you might be kind of going, we're having a wild party, and this is the the vibe we're having, and it's kind of going, I want it real kooky, and I want it, all our person, and again, I think it reflects the person. So sometimes meeting a bride, you kind of go,
she's more rustic. Give her a rustic bouquet.
It sounds terrible. I nearly think of people in flowers, so I do kind of go, like, again.
What am I? What flower
I would think
am I?
kind of go, but see, I go back to your candle launch. It was like elegance of orchids.
Oh yeah,
and orchids, hydrangeas, roses, and that's It's
Jenny,
funny.
You got that so right. I know we're hopping around the place.
I know,
here, but actually, you got my wedding candle launch like so right. Like I wanted whites and silvers, and you brought hydrangeas in, you brought orchids in, you just brought that kind of fresh feel. I know exactly what you mean.
But it linked back to your packaging on the candle.
Yeah.
Is refined.
Yes.
There's an elegance to it. It's the silver and it's straight lines, and again the crisp packaging. There's an elegance to that. So that and I suppose I can see the personality in someone, the personality in flowers.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I kind of nearly label customers by the flowers that I know that they like.
Wow.
And kind of, does that make sense?
It
I don't
makes
know. Kind of
perfect sense now that
because I think
you brought my candle, which makes perfect sense.
But same as a wedding dress, I think kind of going someone who, like, who would be kind of definitely more kind of relaxed, informal.
Yes.
I'm using the terms of it, but in their dress, kind of like a boho style dress.
Right.
If you put a tight, compact posy of roses with them, you might say, well, actually, it doesn't reflect their personality.
Yeah.
Whereas if you kind of go and put something that's a little bit more open, longer stems, a little bit more playful in colour, and kind of like a little bit of movement, you kind of go, the bouquet kind of looks like you. And people should walk into the wedding kind of go, oh my God, this is so you. Because that's what it should be.
Yes.
It's a reflection of
them.
Exactly. Kind of going,
Like I had a wedding, Clodagh, she was stunning just before Christmas in Luttrell's townhouse.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And her bouquet was just stunning. Like it was just a red rosed bouquet. But she was getting married in Luttrell's town. She had her hair straight and structured, just straight and just very, I suppose, elegant and classic. And her dress was elegant and classic and straight. And the bouquet absolutely was perfect.
It's, for me, your most important accessory in the day. You can have a handbag to go with it. The shoes can be elegant, but you're actually holding your first interaction with your guests on the day is as you walk up the aisle.
Yes.
So, and it should be a natural reflection. So I always ask for, that's what I always like to have a face-to-face interaction with the bride.
Yeah.
I think your final consultation is always in person if we can. I had one bride once and it was all over email. And I said, we'll have a quick phone call. And she was like, no, you've everything covered. And I was like,
oh God, I need to hear you see a touch of Pina.
And I always say, I do always have a little moment outside a bridal suite when I'm bringing or some going to someone's house. I always kind of go, there's a moment of kind of going, it is exactly what I kind of go in I nearly run back through my notes because you just have that moment to kind of go, I'm creating someone's dream. So I need to make sure it is right and just double checking the bouquet, giving a little spritz of water. So I was a little moment outside the door as I walk in.
I can imagine.
And she went, it's absolutely perfect. But I hadn't met her. I hadn't seen her. And actually that was one thing with COVID afterwards because you didn't have that interaction sometimes and you walked into a room and everyone had masks on nearly and you're going, I'm not sure which is the bride.
I know. Oh, don't even talk to me.
But it is a natural reflection. It's your most important accessory in the day. And if you think about it, it's in every one of your photographs.
It's in all the photos.
So it's not one area that I would say, even if it's the only thing you have on your day, make sure it's exactly kind of going that's there. It's
so your bouquet. Yeah. That's one thing you definitely need. Yeah. What else do you definitely need?
Generally kind of going bridesmaids bouquets.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a bouquet, but it could be like depending on what they're wearing and the overall look and style of the wedding. Could be a wrist corsage, could be something different.
Yeah.
Buttonholes or boutonnieres, the Mexican style, but buttonholes as we would call them for the guys.
Yeah. They go on the left. Women go on the right because women are always right. I say that all the time.
I don't know where I heard that, and maybe it was you that I heard it from us.
I said it in my sleep.
And exactly kind of going, generally kind of going to say the groom would always have an extra, but it should come from the bride's bouquet.
Yes.
So picking elements. So if it's a classic single rose, which is a very much traditional, and we see an awful lot more black ties, definitely kind of the guys in the tuxes.
Yeah.
I like classic rose or a little more say a natural gathering together. Pin on the left, exactly. Mum's corsages, and I would always do dads or whoever's walking up the aisle. Yes. Ladies' corsages, I suppose we're not seeing as many because I think the outfits are much more spectacular now.
Yes.
I think before it was more, mums were wearing something a little bit more plainer. So it was nice to have an accessory.
So would you do the corsage on the wrist?
Now, corsage on the wrist or to pin, depending on their outfit.
Yes.
But also depending on sleeve length.
Right.
So considering...
I'm so glad you're saying all this. I see this all the time, Jenny. And I'm like, who in the name of holy God gave you that corsage for your arm when your dress is like to here?
And a winter wedding and they're wearing a jacket. So I would always say just be wary of, kind of going to... And again, sometimes their outfits don't take it. So I'll say kind of going, Mum, put all your outfit on, all the elements that you're going to have on the day, hat, all the dams, and have a look and say, well, actually, is it going to interfere? Am I going to be uncomfortable with it? I do know that...
Do I want a pin going through my outfit?
You can do a magnet. We have to be wary if someone has a pacemaker.
Oh,
yes.
What?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Elements go like that.
Well, and it goes on the right, so it doesn't
I know, but still, just kind of going let them like that.
What happens?
I don't know, but I just know there's a warning. Yeah, but
God,
also,
you know that?
I don't find that they stay.
They don't stay. No. Can I tell you, florists, if you're listening, those stupid magnets do not stay.
No, and I know sometimes it's the suit makers that are kind of going to, if there's a silk lapel on the groom's tux, let's say they don't want a pin going through it again. But I've had grooms, and I remember doing a wedding once, and it was the groom, and I said, look, I've put pins beside them.
Yeah.
So we just put them on a card. We know it was name tag them and that they're there. I was just pulling out of the church, and one of the groomsmen, who was a past groom of ours, came up and he said, Jenny, can I take some extra pins? Because, and I said, that's good, because I had pins with them. And he said, no, he said, look, I know they're magnets. But I just feel...
You know, I bring my own pins to weddings. Yeah. Oh, I do, yeah.
I know, it's kind of like, we'd always put extras in and make sure they're, but look, they can.
So some florists, do you do this? Do you put like a safety pin on the other side of the boutonniere?
No, I just straight pin it.
Yeah, so they do. So there's another thing. A lot of the time, there's a safety pin on the other side of the boutonniere, and it doesn't hold. Okay, so it might hold for a little while, but eventually it opens, and then that could stab them, and there's blood, and there's shirts. Blah, blah. Anyway, so what do? I just leave it there, and I have my pin, and I don't like to see the pin, so I pin it from the back.
That's exactly what I do. I pin from the back and try and get across through. I will say, I'll always say, if they wanted to pin them on and we're there when we're delivering, I'll say one person, all jackets, and I'm quite, I'll pin them all on. But sometimes we're delivering to try and get to a church or something like that ahead of time. But I'll always say, look, check in with the photographer or coordinator, someone like that will help. Or say, if we're here, come find us if we need to pin them on.
Because no offence to the lads now, right? Okay, sorry boys. Yous are shite at putting on flowers. No, unless that's what you do for a living. Like, please don't do it. No. Let somebody else do it who knows what they're doing.
But sometimes, I could be there and there's like 5 or 6 guys and you pin them all on.
I just go up and go, come here for a second now. Where do you think you're going with the 55 pins? Come here. And I could spend 10 minutes taking them off and putting them back on again, making sure they're right. That's because I'm anal and I want them to look perfect.
And you wanted to sit right. Again, that's his accessory. So it needs to be sitting kind of right. And
absolutely. Yeah. So you need the bouquet, you need the bridesmaids' bouquets, and you need the boutonnieres. Yeah. So you need one for, if dad is around, you need one for dad. Would you need one for the father of the groom as well?
I would always do, yeah.
Well, I think he should be included. I always say that. So father of the groom. And then who else do you need them for? Or do you need them for anyone else? Do you need them for family members?
Personal choice. So sometimes we say if there's one family member who's not been included, say, as a bride or like a bridesmaid or groomsman, and they kind of are going to be there as part in the family photos, and the only one maybe that doesn't have a floral detail. Yeah, I would also say kind of maybe something like that. Okay, yeah, but again, it's personal choice. I always think of this grandparents. I think it's lovely.
Oh, that's lovely.
Or a really special godmother or an aunt or someone like that who's kind of played an important role in your life, and you want to make them a little bit special on the day.
Yes,
I think kind of.
So if I see a flower on somebody when I get to the church, I'm thinking she's important. Yeah, exactly. You know, if they're on them
and
before I get there.
Sometimes people don't know the extended family members, so that's why sometimes people do like to kind of go and say mothers that they have a flower because they're recognisable as bridal party. Yeah.
So budget-wise, it's not essential, but that is a nice thing to do for grandparents and somebody who's significant. Yeah. Okay, so let's get beyond that then. So let's get into the church or the ceremony room. What do they absolutely need in there? Now, I know it's probably down to budget again.
Look, it's how long overall with the wedding, it's how long is a piece of string. Yeah. And I'll say, kind of go and say, focus on the main elements. And usually, if it's a ceremony, I'd be a church or a civil ceremony in a venue or in a space. So the unity candle or the ceremony table arrangement, because that's where you're standing. Yes. That's where the focus of attention is. Yeah. If you're lighting candles, whether we incorporate them to the arrangement or if they're left to the side. Yes. That's the main bit. And then everything else after that
is up to you.
Up to you. And again, it depends. And I'll always say it's venue dependent. Yes. Like we come into a venue and this is how you personalise your venue. It's a blank space, be it, I don't know, so let's say because we were talking about tungsten, if it's in the orange and tungsten or if it's outdoors as well, it is a blank space. Yes. So it's up to you to personalise, and that's where your
creativity comes in.
Exactly. And it's just kind of going, that's how you style it for yourself, because okay, someone may have been in the video with another wedding before, but like really, I suppose you're personalising it, putting your colour stamp on it, putting the style of the wedding kind of, you're just, and those elements can be then transferred onto tables afterwards. But I suppose what you're doing is I always say lay the ceremony, but again, I think where you will stand, where the photographer will take the shot from. Yeah. And probably that's maybe kind of going to, is kind of you guys saying your vows, or the groom at the top of the, say look at those elements. But definitely something that's there. And again, some churches may need something outside that they're a little bit.
Some of them are rotten. No offence,
but they're
priests or churches. But some of the churches are all terrible looking.
Or a little bit darker, or a little
graveyard to the side. I'm like, here nobody wants like
gravestones. And it's nice kind of going, if you have a long little, like going somewhere like Rathfy Church, you have that little kind of meander up there kind of going, and it's nice to have, because your guests all walk up through that little bit. It's not really a garden, but walk up through the churchyard and greet your guests there. Good weather, or bad weather, it's nice to kind of get those photo opportunities outside. Yes. So it's like, and I'll say kind of going, every couple have, I suppose, their own priorities. Some people say, I want just a really fab statement piece outside the church, and inside the church, I'm not too bothered the unity candle arrangement. That's, and I suppose focus attention on where you feel.
On what you want.
Yeah.
And so I suppose for me looking in, who doesn't know a huge amount about, the flowers on the day, obviously I spot the nice ones. I do like to see an arch around a church door sometimes. That can be really good. However, I'm also somebody who likes to use things again.
Yeah.
So, the as you're walking up the aisle on the pew ends, you put, they're lovely, every second pew
bunches,
you put, they're gorgeous. And you can take those out of the church afterwards and bring them to the hotel.
So look, each church will have its own rules and regulations. And generally what we try to do, and I suppose this is a number of years
Don't tell me they ask you to keep them there.
Some churches will request, look, and it's nice, and if it's your local parish church, it might be nice to do something.
I know,
on the
Jenny,
back
hang on a second. Now, I'm going to be straight here. I don't care. If you're after paying your flowers for your wedding day, and this is just me being really straight, you should be allowed to take them back out of the church.
Yeah.
Do priests ask you to leave the...
Some do. Some churches will kind of go, and look, it will be in the terms and conditions that you kind of go, and some churches will ask for something. If it's your local church, you might want to leave something there for Mass on the Saturday, for the Sunday Mass.
Why?
As a token, an offering, a gesture. I know, but
sorry.
generally most people, so the unity candle arrangement definitely, like a lot of people, that will be taken out the pew ends. It just
so what do you leave then?
It's kind of going, if there's something on the back altar, you may leave some pew ends aside to kind of go, look,
so I have to tell you the story because I'm just going to, I sound so mean, but I'm just thinking of my couples here. And I'm thinking of the money that they're after shelving out and that they've saved for. And I just don't think those flowers should be left in the church if they need them. So there was one particular wedding I did. I won't name the church because I'll get the sacristan onto me. Anyway, I said to the lads, the groomsmen, did you get the pew ends? Because I knew that, oh no, you're one in there, just won't let us take them. I'm thinking, who won't let you take them? Oh, the sacristan said, no, you have to leave them there. I said, no, the pew ends because they're for the tops of the tables back at the cake club. And no. And I said, no, the bride actually said that she wanted them. Yeah. Well, I'm not going back in there. And I was fuming then. I thought, she wants them taken from there because they're going on the tabletops back at the cake club on her tall tables. Yeah. So, I mean, I know it's probably not something I should have done, but I went in and I just started unraveling them and I got whoever was with me to do the same. And she came down and she said, Jenny, what are you doing? And I said, I'm just taking these. I said, they're for the cake club. Yeah. No, you will leave them there. And I said, oh, sorry, did you pay for them? I didn't realise you... Yeah. Oh, she said, no. And I said, no, sorry, I'm taking them. I said, I'm so sorry. But I said, they're not yours. I said, they're belonging to the bride and groom and they want to take them back to the cake club because they want to reuse them on their tables there.
Repurpose is a nice word.
Repurpose, not reuse.
Yes.
Repurpose. But you see, they're brand new on the pew ends. Yeah. And they just wanted to repurpose them on the table. So she kind of gave out to me and I said, look, I don't want to argue with you. I said, but seriously, I said, they're not your flowers. Yeah. They're their flowers. And they're bringing them back to the hotel. And I'm bringing them.
Most people would absolutely. And sometimes we would do a transfer for people. And then other times I would always give an email and say, transfer from church. And then we give them a number of cases of any queries or what, and instructions. Because one thing, if the groomsmen, and actually I remember once kind of pulling up to, I think it was Oldcastle Church, we were going to a wedding over in Virginia Park, and the groomsmen were taking quite a large unity candle ceremony tape, up on the altar. And they were trying to put it on their knees in the back of the car. And I was like, no, put it down.
The Oasis.
I'm here to take it for you. But they were doing a great job. But usually the pew ends absolutely would be taken back. Yeah. We would say repurpose them, pop them in vases into the tables. If there's something to be left in the church, we'd ask a couple, is there something, maybe we do a simplified back arrangement on the back altar.
I get that.
Or something that's there.
I get that, but not the pew ends. Seriously.
But like that, it could have gone, and sometimes a bride and groom might say, look, we have 8 tables, let's do 12 pew ends, we're going to leave some of those back. So again, we would have that all organised.
Yeah.
And just to know.
So it's not a row on the day, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we would know most of the churches, and again, they do, look, some of the churches do like, they could have gone something that left behind. If it's your local church, I think sometimes it's nice.
It's nice, okay.
It is your church, kind of going, that's there. Or your mom might be going to Mass on Sunday and she'd like to see some of your flowers there.
You're so nice, Jenny. I'm like, give it to the bride and groom.
But absolutely, but if they've planned to put on their tables, then it's a miscommunication there.
I think that's what happened that day. But the lads were afraid of her, so I went back in.
But like that kind of going, there is, and absolutely kind of going, you've invested in, like, and that's what it is, an investment on the styling of your day. And if you can use them, repurpose them exactly, use them back, because it does add to the details. There's time when everyone's having their drinks reception for them to be dropped on tables. But as long as and again, like that, like that the church knows what you're taking.
Yes.
And also then the venue knows what's arriving.
Okay.
So like that, we would coordinate, would say the venue coordinator, and just say, or we might have left vases there for pew ends going, or we'd loan vases to couples and say, if you're taking the pew ends yourself, here's some vases, drop the pew ends into those vases. We'll cut them to size so that they go on the tables then afterwards. And absolutely. And then I'll even jump on to kind of going further. Repurpose them again. Take your guests, take them home afterwards.
Yeah, that's lovely, isn't it?
You know, you're investing in kind of going the decorations in the day. So just it's
absolutely, because then they die. Do you know what I mean? So it is
they
nice
have
to
a short life,
to...
and absolutely everybody from your mum to your auntie to your friend who did a little something to help you out. Kind of going, everyone loves to take something home. Kind of going after a wedding. So we would always make sure to let you know, kind of say, look, if there's vases to drop back for us, or if we're doing a pickup on the morning, because like if we have vases or stands to pick up, we will just, sometimes we take down, so if there's larger, big arrangements, maybe there's elevated pieces that are on tables, we break them into gifting bunches, what we say.
Brilliant.
So that we tie them into bunches, then all your guests get to take something home. So
that's
again,
like gold.
Yeah. And look, and it keeps the venue, it keeps the wedding kind of going on another little bit.
Yeah.
And like that, they do, like, because I have gone back to a venue before, to venues before, and people have, like, I've found, like, a bride could go, I've no room in the car to put them in. They're having a panic. They never told any of the guests to take them. And then the other end of that is just, it gets composted then. I know, which is kind of
a waste of money.
But like that, we might have couples that are from America or traveling or different things. So we would sometimes kind of say coordinate with them that we can maybe deliver them to a hospice.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So they have another life, or they bring joy to somebody else.
Yes.
Which is,
I love that. They bring joy to someone else.
That's what. So.
Okay. So then that's kind of like everything we need so far. And then back at the venue, are you putting up anything new? You're repurposing the stuff you took from the ceremony.
Again,
what's
it really
the story?
depends.
Depends again.
Yeah, it depends. Kind of going again. You might kind of some like couples would say kind of going, if the room has been changed, like say again you're having the ceremony in the same space, or if you're an outdoor ceremony, things can be transferred back in. Like the pew ends can go into vases on the tables. You might have different style table centres that you might say, look, let's introduce an extra bit of colour to make it look totally different.
Yeah.
But I'll take, and again, I know just because we were talking about earlier, tank stand as an example, the room feels different once it gets changed from the ceremony to the, kind of like the way for outdoors, you're coming indoors afterwards.
Yes.
So elements can definitely be used for create like those larger, like, again, I'll talk about the elevated pieces. So on larger stands or on tall vases, a large, big arrangement that stands high over your table.
Yes. Talk to me about that.
Yes.
For the speeches. That drives me mad. Now, if there's something in the way.
Your top table should always be low.
Yes.
For me, that's kind of going, everyone's there. Again, that you have a sight line around the room.
Yeah.
And again, same with, so those, if we go on tall geo stands or those tall gun stands or tall vase, we need to get kind of up above, 70, 80 centimetres. So we're above conversation line.
Yes.
What you don't want is, that you're looking around a table centre or that you just can't have a conversation
to see
line.
The person in front of you.
But definitely top table, I'd always recommend going low, the full length of it, that the sight
with
line.
With the flowers
and candles. Maybe keep it low. Again, your ceremony, the unity candle arrangement sometimes would sit in the centre of your top table, and whatever else you do afterwards, I always recommend going low.
Yeah.
Because if you're on table down the back corner of the room, you can still see the top table slightly.
I'm so glad you're saying this, because when I'm photographing speeches, sometimes you might have, I suppose, a candelabra or something like tall like that, say on either end of the top table, and then you might have all the low flowers in the middle. And if I'm trying to, because I have to try and avoid the videographer as well, because they need to record everything, and they generally stay, in one position. I like to move around because I like to be able to capture people laughing and engaging with the speeches. But if I'm standing and I want to kind of get a speaker at the top table and there's this feckin' yoke standing up in my way, I'm like, oh no.
You've missed the shot.
You missed the shot. So I definitely think all the flowers on the top table should be low. And also sometimes, within the room, you might have kind of tall candelabras, but they're not tall enough sometimes for the people to see what's going on at the table at the top.
And look, it's venue specific, but sometimes your venue will provide a candelabra in there, and it's up to us to know as florists kind of going, there's slightly taller ones there in this venue, and this venues are a little bit lower. So if we do a garland up in the arms of the candelabra, it's actually blocking our conversation line. Now, I've had brides who have said, I don't care.
Yeah.
This is what I want. And I'll say, That's no problem at all.
That's your day.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
And then so some of the other venues will have a slightly taller candelabra, so we know we can. And again, we know the different sizes and measurements of the base all change. So it's kind of like about learning every time you go do a wedding, kind of going, actually, what size kind of base do we need to kind of go with it? Or again, what each venue provides as their centerpieces. Again, some will provide candelabras, some will provide nothing, some will provide maybe lanterns or something like that. So it's just to kind of say, if the venue's providing it, how can we enhance it?
Yes.
And, change up the tables. And especially if you have something like for table centers, 6, well, actually, you probably have 10 to 12 tables in a room. You don't have to have all the same table. Again, those larger pieces will kind of go and add a lot of budget to it. They're kind of higher value items. Whereas you can have a simplified version, which may be your pew ends and some other vessels.
Lovely, in the middle of another table. So they can all be different.
And highs and lows. And again, you can do 3 to 4 different styles. So you'd have 4. But again, as long as they're evenly distributed, we look at a little table plan, and then we'll make a plan ourselves before we go. But again, when you're in the room, sometimes you might just say, okay, these need to be the tall because of the sight lines.
Yeah.
You'll also want to be that kind of, I'll say, looking from the photographer's point of view, when you walk into the room, you want kind of your guests to kind of go,
wow. I hear that all the time. Wow. Well, not all the time, but most of the time. Wow.
Yeah. But like that, it's that visual impact when people walk into, that's what you really want to do. You kind of say, you want your guests to come in and kind of go, oh my gosh, they've had so much time and consideration to the elements they brought into the room.
Yes.
And the decorations that they've added. So so you don't want all the tall ones hiding down the back. What you want is to have them distributed through
evenly.
The room. Exactly.
Yes.
And then we might just say, which are the VIP tables? Kind of going to ask, kind of go to make sure that mum and dad's table, if they're not sitting at the top table, or the very kind of, we just make sure that the VIP tables
have the nicer ones.
Yeah.
And then what else was I going to say to you? Yeah. So, I want to talk about different types of flowers now.
Okay. There's lots.
Because we spoke about this now just before we went on air, and I had a question for you. And I thought you were going to give me a great answer, but you didn't.
Okay. Yeah.
I have heard this lots of times before, that people go looking for a particular type of flower when it's not in season for their wedding. Does that happen?
It does happen.
Okay.
So peonies, I think, is the one that really we see an awful lot, because they are a beautiful flower.
Peony roses, they're fabulous, aren't they?
And just when you get them in the right season, they're perfect.
Oh, I know. And the smell of them.
I know. And they're lovely.
They're
and
gorgeous.
Sometimes they're a florist nightmare because you're waiting for some to open.
Yes.
That's one element of our ordering is kind of, you say, you want some blooms to be open, others just to arrive just in time.
Sometimes they're nice when they're closed, though. I love them.
I know, but sometimes you want them just flourish.
But then they can get too open. They start fucking shedding, and you don't want that either.
No. So it's kind of a fine balance, and it's that fine balance. And sometimes we have kind of stages of opening in vases and through the kind of, and some in the fridge. Some may have to come home with us to kind of get a little bit of heat to open up. Some, again, it can be, peony season can be a little bit stressful at times for flowers.
Oh God, Jenny, you poor thing.
But it's when you get that perfect combination together, it's wonderful.
Yes.
But season's coming up soon. But they're starting to appear.
Yeah, I know.
I know, we always love when peony season arrives, and all the different varieties that come in. And again,
all the different colours.
There's lovely coral ones at the moment, and they open and they change colour as they flower, as they through the life of them. They're absolutely beautiful.
And the white ones are fabulous.
I know.
Yeah.
But so they're probably one that we get most people, and again, in December wedding. And I did say to you earlier on, kind of, sometimes they magically appear on my Dutch supplier list. And I'm kind of going, how is there a peony somewhere? But obviously they've been grown by somebody.
Yes.
But the prices, you'd cry.
Are ridiculous.
And also the quality could be very questionable. So when we get towards the end of the peony season, the quality does tend to kind of drop.
So what's the end of the peony season for all the brides and grooms listening?
There's no definite.
Okay.
So it depends on the weather.
Right.
So the hotter it is and the sunnier it is now, the shorter the season will be.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's
so they need a bit of cold air.
Well, they just, this was the warmer, a lot of them are grown outdoors. So, and again, it could be indoors, but again, the more light that they're getting, the quicker they're going to bloom, so that they get cut and, sent to production, that they kind of, more become available on market. So one thing about kind of going, again, seasonality wise is, I suppose, to do with, and I suppose things that nobody really pays any, I suppose kind of going, we know, because I'm in the industry, we work on a backward clock in the auctions. So kind of going, we tend to work with our suppliers, but it's supply and demand of flowers. So if there's someone, let's say Jenny McCarthy's having this huge book launch, and she needs
I am going to have a huge book launch.
And she needs all the white phalaenopsis that are available that week in Holland. And suddenly Kim Kardashian decides she's going to have them. Again.
Sorry, there's no competition. I'd win every day of the week.
But if there's only a certain number stems of white phalaenopsis orchids hitting the auction, say in Holland, and I need them,
you're not going to get them.
I'll have to order them at the highest price possible to ensure that I get them. Whereas if there's no demand for them, and it's not necessarily no demand, but it's supply and demand. So again, sometimes things are more limited, and definitely over the past 12 months, we have been dealing with an awful lot of, not say issues, but our suppliers have been wonderful. And again, it's just about having that great relationship with our suppliers.
Jesus, Jenny, I don't think people realise the stress you go through.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's not just about throwing a few flowers and getting them together and put them. There's an awful lot of work involved.
It's the unseen elements. And I suppose there's an awful lot of that. I suppose it's just second nature now because I'm used to dealing with this kind of thing. So again, like I'll take the orchids as an example. So if there's a certain amount hitting available from the growers that week, and let's say the growers were having a tough time the past couple of months because the price of gas went crazy after COVID, and then with the whole Ukraine-Russia issue that's happening there, they were relying an awful lot on Russian gas coming into the country to heat the glasshouses. So production may have shrunk. They may not have as much production. So there's less of those flowers available. Okay. So I know you want them for your event. And so I have to talk to my suppliers and kind of say, look, kind of going as early as I can to say, I'm going to need, say, 100 stems of orchids and whatever, to make sure that I'm going to get them. And they're going to talk to the growers directly and say, Jenny needs this for this event on this date to arrive a few days in advance in case. And again, we have to be cautious because it's a live product. Something could happen that it just doesn't come into the quality that I need it to be for you.
Absolutely.
That I have time to get a replacement in or figure out what we're going to do. Because sometimes that adds to the elements of fun. And
do you get stressed?
Yeah.
Do you?
Because it's so important. That bride has trusted me with her flowers to be perfect.
Does she understand if you get back and say they didn't come in?
I'll always say I will do my very best, or I'll find and again, I suppose this is over the past while we've said to kind of people like, again, there's particular varieties of this beautiful toffee rose. I don't know if you've seen it, kind of the brown tone. There's I suppose trend colour at the moment. But again, the prices have been super high. So again, what we'll say to them is when I'm doing your flower order, I'll look and kind of go, they're a little bit more, they're too expensive. Like, some elements I'll say, look, for the bridal bouquet, I need to get this, the exact kind of as much as I can. But like that we look at over a mood board and the colour palette and the feeling of the flowers.
Yes.
So that I might just say I have, because for every wedding, I'll sit down and do a recipe list. So I'll say into her bridal bouquet, I'm going to have this number of varieties and stems, and then I'm going to have her bridesmaids, and then I'm going to have her pew ends and her table centres. And so I'll do a full recipe, and then I have the number of stems that I need to buy. Let's say it's 100 roses, 100 peonies, 100 hydrangeas. That's a very rough example. Wow. So I'll go and buy, but if there's something kind of going, and again, I've looking at the budget to spend, that I can kind of go, if there's say, instead of having an avalanche rose, is there a different variety that's kind of going, again, will give me the same effect to maximise the budget. So again, it's not just buying exactly flowers, but again, you have to watch where over the past number of months, we've had issues where, not issues, it's just kind of going, surprises, where maybe white spray roses have been 5 times the normal price. So we go, okay, let's go with the white lysianthus instead. Right. Or lysianthus have just been a little bit more expensive because they take an awful lot of heat to grow. Right. So again, it's about working with our suppliers and kind of knowing what would be the same feeling.
I'd say you always find an option though, do you?
Well, that's it. That's what my job is to do. And that's kind of going, I need to kind of find the right option that will give what I'm going to say about the feeling of the bouquet. So again, it's a classic style flowers. I'm not going to put, I don't know, maybe a bright coloured gerber or something like that with it, but that it's the same feeling and element, that the overall colour balance, the overall mood is balanced. Yeah, for the bride. Yeah.
And talk to me, because we spoke about this before air as well. The white roses. Yeah, you know I was going to say that. Yeah. I could write a book. I could write another book, actually.
I'll co-author it.
On white roses. And, brides go off and they, order a bouquet of just white roses. And sometimes the roses come and there's like a little shade of green going on or a little shade of yellow, and they're not what they were expecting. So talk me through that, because I've had 2 brides walk up the aisle without their bouquet because of this. And then I've had lots complaining about the colour of the roses. It's not the florist's fault. Talk to me about this.
No, and again, it's just, well, I suppose it's kind of going to have a look, kind of, it's variety choice. Like every flower has a tint of something. So again, white, pure white on white is quite hard to achieve. Yeah. So again, it's about knowing other varieties to maybe choose from. And again, the slightly whiter ones are always the more expensive ones, of course. But it's also to have a look, kind of say, there's a tint, there is again, there's a tint of green, there's a tint of yellow in every white flower. So again, if it's a hydrangea, a ranunculus, there's always a tint of something else. And again, even if it's coming down towards the stem, there's green there, if that makes sense. Yeah. So when you put them all together with no greenery whatsoever, no foliage or something like that around them, you just can see that. And again, once it's up the white of the dress. So maybe we look at options of mixing the difference, like again, picking what we feel is the whitest rose.
Yeah.
I normally say if a bride's looking at white on white, that effect, I'll say I need a sample of the dress material if you can get it to me.
No, that's a brilliant idea. Yeah.
Because generally, not that many Irish tone, like we tend to go with what it will say is ivory. So it's a slightly cream tone. But again, now we're looking at kind of a lot of nude tones coming in or underlays, with the little detail. So I'll say, what colour are we bringing in? So if it's more of a richer cream, you kind of lean towards more that champagne-y tones.
Yes.
And I think this is where kind of going the experience that mum kind of going to matching those colours and trying out and kind of saying.
So do you think those flowers that I'm talking about now would come from florists who don't have the same experience, say, as you do?
Maybe. Yeah. And again, it's just kind of going, I suppose, and it's something that I'm very conscious of because and I suppose that's kind of down to me, and maybe it's the experience and maybe it's kind of going, but I know that white on white is difficult to achieve.
It is difficult, yeah.
So maybe I'll say to bride, well, that's not to do all roses. Are you happy to break it up with a little bit transition of greenery coming through it or different forms? So
just break it up a bit.
Yeah. So have a mixed texture of flowers. Yes. So again, have spray roses, which are the small little ones, or we were talking about Lily of the Valley or something like, again, something soft to come through with that brings in that kind of breaks it up, that it's not all, because a rose is quite a big round flower, and if you have all them together, what you end up doing is you create a mass of the one flower. Yes. So if you break it up a little bit more, have a little bit of maybe something that's like an interplay or a little transition of greenery going through, it just softens it out, so you don't see that tone in it, that you've softened it out. So that's kind of like the masking of it a little bit. But like I would never, like, and again, you're trying to create that bride's dream and you want the perfect accessory for her. So she should, to try and...
And tell me then, God, we could talk for Ireland, couldn't we? Honest to God, like we are talking now 40 minutes. I know it doesn't feel like that, but we are.
I know.
So what else do they need? I mean, do they still obviously give away the bouquets to the mothers of the bride and the groom? Well, or is that stopping a little bit?
So couples, I'll always ask kind of on this, like for the mums, I said, would you like it delivered to the room or are you going to be giving it at speeches?
Yes.
So sometimes we would kind of say, have it for when they check in, and then they come into the room and they have a nice little card to say, thanks for sharing the day with us.
Oh,
so again,
that's even nicer, I think.
Yeah. So again, it's just that element of kind of, again, they mightn't want to stand up during the speeches and gift, at that stage.
Because then they take the flowers off them and they've nowhere to put them except on the ground,
I know.
I think it's better. Or I think it's a better idea.
Deliver it earlier in the week or the week when they've got, or after when they've gone on honeymoon.
Or after, I think. Because I think even before the week.
They come down after the wedding and the busyness afterwards.
And you're probably going off to the hotel for 2 or 3 nights, Bit of a waste.
And especially if people have travelled as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And after, so I know this tradition and some people like to stick to that traditional element.
Which is fair enough.
And I say each to their own, but sometimes like that, if mum gets it afterwards, I'm kind of, do you know what? They're kind of going, they've gone away on honeymoon and there is a lull after the wedding. It's all kind of going, so, it just kind of prolongs it. Yeah. Aww. And same ways like that, because we've that retail element of the business, we have an agreement on Saturday, they're 8 years married. I was like, go. So it's not necessarily a recreation of the bouquet, but kind of going, something similar to, to the wedding flowers. So we'll kind of, sometimes that we kind of go, the rest is like, we got married next year and I get to look at the picture and go, hang on, I'm going to look up your order and see what we use. So we'll try and reorder those flowers in.
That is so lovely. Jenny.
I know.
Oh my God, you have the nicest clients. But you're the nicest person on the planet. And you are absolutely amazing at what you do. So your mum, you were saying, still works with you. So does she kind of crack the whip every now and again?
Oh yeah. She's the, let's say kind of going, she'll keep us on our toes. But also it's her business and that's what she kind of, put her, and I suppose I have the legacy to continue.
Yes.
But like she's a brilliant eye. So even when I was doing competitions or anything like that, she has an amazing eye. That just needs a little bit of change. Or colour, like all those elements of kind of going to say the finer details. Glass, there's a mark on that mirror, that glass, we're going to that it's not going to
love it.
So, and like if you don't do that, then it just, you need to kind of keep those elements up. And like it's the small details that you will, someone sitting at the table for 3 hours during the meals and the speeches, they'll notice if the glass is not clean.
Of course they will.
Yes.
I will.
Mum will remind us and check it. But like that, it's just those little check-ins. But yeah, it's, I'm very lucky. We're kind of going, we got to kind of going like it's, we get on great. We have our moments like every mum and daughter do. But overall, I'm blessed, yeah.
You are absolutely blessed. Is there any other tips that you can give? I mean, honestly, like I said, we could talk.
I think kind of going, it's just do your research, have a look. And again, I know the Pinterest is amazing. Instagram is amazing. There's so much more information than there was. Like even kind of mums, like, there was a couple of wedding books years ago.
Yes.
And actually I have them all still. I have a library of flower books. I'm kind of going, but that was the reference points before. Yes. But now there's so much information. So I'll just say, don't get overwhelmed. Have a look and kind of go and be true to yourself. Because a lot of times people say, I think I should go with it. Or there could be someone else putting a little bit of influence saying, oh no, you need to have this, you need to have that. Go with what feels true to you. Yes. If you kind of prefer to I really don't want a big bouquet, or I don't want a bouquet. That happened once. We had 2 brides getting married. And the girl said, it's not me. And I said, that's fine.
Then don't do it.
Whatever's true to you. Yeah. And you have to be comfortable because you're holding that bouquet. So like walking up the aisle. One other thing I always remind people kind of going, shoulder, like, and probably a photographer thing, just holding the bouquet in the stand.
Down at your belly button. Keep your boobs out and your back straight.
But I always say kind of go, take that deep breath and shoulders back and then walk up the aisle. Yes. It's that kind of going, because the bouquet's content, and we, like with anything, when we're nervous, probably me at the start of this podcast,
we just
shoulders up and just kind of going, but even to take a moment, Mum would always again say that, take a moment when the dress is on.
Yes.
You're probably taking some of those detailed shots, but when the dress is on, to stand and kind of go, okay, this is, look in the mirror and kind of go, this is how I'm looking for the day.
Yes.
And then just to kind of, exactly.
And enjoy it. Yeah. And I would always say to my brides to hold their bouquet down at their belly button and a little bit lower if you have to. And I always, because the pose thing for me, because if they keep the back straight, boobs out. I know, boobs, I'm always talking about the boobs. Keep the boobs out and the bouquet down at your belly button. You're actually keeping your arms away from your waist as well. And you're, slimming down your waist and you're giving yourself a better look. But posture-wise, it's amazing to have something to hold in your hands, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. And everyone sees it when you're walking up the aisle.
That's it. And then I'll say one thing about after. So when all the photography's done, we'd always leave vases for the bouquets to sit in. Now, I'll generally try and deliver our bridal bouquets in water. Yes. So be it in a vase or if we're kind of going in a bubble of water at the bottom. Because we may, depending on where we're travelling to from, we might have to, let's say, bind it that morning, pack it. If we're going an hour to, let's say, you're kind of going or half an hour to your house. Yeah. We want to be there. Again, little details like if you're doing a first look.
Yes.
Make sure we know that, that when...
Because you need them earlier then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then they're in a very hot room with a lot of hair dryers going and everything like that.
I know.
So then after all the photography's done, we would leave vases for you until
pop them back
to water.
But then dry them before you put them near your goo.
Well, exactly. We'll always go paper towel dry them so you don't get drops of water near your dress. But then when all the photography's done, you're sitting down to your meal.
Yes.
There'll be a vase there.
Pop them back into the water.
And again, okay, then ideally you give them a fresh cut and kind of going like that. Sometimes we could be setting up the tables and someone might bring them down and we'll just kind of, again, give them a bit of a water mister. But they're still going to be, they'll be in better, let's say, stead for the next day. Yes. Plus also now, it's, I suppose, more popular now. People are preserving their bouquets, pieces of art, all those elements. And sometimes it does happen, even if the wedding we've done or a wedding we've not done, we get mums ringing us kind of going, oh, my daughter got married last week. We would just like to dry the bouquet or do something now.
It's too late.
I'm not actually 100% sure if it's kind of too late or not, but like, again, I would say make a plan beforehand. And there's fabulous things you can get done. I think you can get, I have one bride and she's going to send me pictures, she's getting hers done, our elements done in resin. There's loads kind of going, I don't know, kind of going press flowers. Yeah. There's loads of elements and it's like, it really is.
It is lovely then to have it
that. You do it yourself. I think one bride said YouTube video all the way.
Come here, mine would be left with bloody mould marks on them.
I know, but it's like, but something to consider just before.
Yes, if you're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. But like that. And then for, sometimes like people do like to, pass it on to kind of go say, give it to mum if you're going honeymoon or gets left on maybe a family member's grave. But like that, if you're doing those elements, I suppose to make the plan beforehand.
Okay. Yeah. So Jenny, that's the end of our conversation.
Oh my gosh.
That did not feel like 45 minutes.
I think we need another one.
So we definitely do. We need to go off and have a bottle of wine now. So tell me, Jenny, well, I know how to contact you because I am going to be in contact with you for my wedding book. Can we talk about that again?
Yes.
You probably won't be able to fit me in now with all your weddings. No. But if any of my brides or grooms want to contact you, how do they contact you?
So we have, I suppose we are on Instagram. It's probably the most popular social at the moment.
And what is your tag?
We're at Flowers by Moira. So Moira is Moira. And then we're Instagram, I suppose, on our website. Yes. So there's a contact form on the website there. If people want to fill that out, that kinds of details, and then we'll come back to them. They can also give the shop a call. So we're on Injun Chaplin, or sometimes people just drop their head in and kind of go, no, grand. Yeah. So that's where,
So Instagram, or look you up on the internet, Flowers by Moira, or call into you in Dunshaughlin.
Yeah.
Jenny, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Loads of loves and kisses to your mommy.
Oh, thank you so much, Jenny.